Imagine taking a 16-year-old from 1998 and a 16-year-old from today. Give them the same phone, the same money, the same school, the same opportunities. Now ask them one simple question: what do you want most in life? Their answers would probably be completely different. Many 90s kids grew up chasing freedom. Many Gen Z teens grew up in a world where attention became one of the most valuable things you could have. And here's the shocking part: neither generation chose to think that way. Their environment quietly shaped the way they see the world. The scary truth is, if you were born just 10 years earlier, or 10 years later, your confidence, your relationships, your habits, even your attention span, could have turned out very differently. So, who is actually right? Gen Z or 90s kids? By the end of this video, you'll understand why two generations can live on the same planet, yet almost feel like they grew up on different ones. And trust me, the final psychology lesson completely changes the way you'll see both generations. Most people think generations change because people get older, but that's only half the story. Psychologists have known for years that your brain doesn't just grow, it adapts. It adapts to whatever world surrounds it. Think of it like this: plant the exact same seed, one in a rainforest, the other in a desert. Same seed, completely different tree. Human brains work in a surprisingly similar way. The environment doesn't just influence behavior, it shapes the habits your brain practices every single day. And over time, those habits become your personality. Now let me show you something most people never notice. Let's rewind to a random afternoon in 1998. School's over. A kid throws his backpack onto the floor, grabs his bicycle, runs outside. The street is already full of friends. Someone's playing cricket. Someone's arguing over football. Someone's shouting, "Ollie, hurry up." There were no group chats, no typing indicators, no scene notifications. If you wanted to see your best friend, you walked to their house, knocked on the door, and hoped they were home. Sometimes they weren't. So you found someone else, or you made up your own game. Boredom wasn't the enemy. It was where imagination began. Now, fast forward to today. School ends. A teenager walks into their room, drops the backpack, unlocks the phone. One notification, then another. A message, a reel, a TikTok, a YouTube short, a meme, a breaking news alert. A friend uploads a story. Someone else just posted vacation photos. Before they even realize what's happening, their brain has already switched directions 20 different times. Same age, different childhood, different environment, different brain training. And here's the part almost nobody talks about: neither childhood was perfect. The 90s had fewer opportunities. Gen Z has endless opportunities. The 90s had less information. Gen Z has almost too much information. One generation had to search for stimulation. The other has to escape it. That single difference changes far more than people realize. Because your brain becomes incredibly good at whatever you repeatedly ask it to do. And that's where dopamine enters the story. Most people call dopamine the happiness chemical. But that's not quite true. Dopamine isn't really about happiness. It's about expectation. It whispers one sentence over and over again, maybe the next one will be even better. Imagine walking into a casino. Lights flashing everywhere. Hundreds of slot machines. People pulling the lever, again, and again, and again. Why? Because every spin carries the same promise. Maybe this time. Now here's the scary part. Your brain responds to uncertainty in a very powerful way. Not knowing when the next reward will arrive often keeps people engaged longer than getting predictable rewards. And social media quietly uses that same idea. You don't know what the next swipe will bring. Maybe it'll be hilarious. Maybe shocking. Maybe inspiring. Maybe completely useless. But your brain keeps thinking. One more swipe. Then another. Then another. You picked up your phone just to check the time. 10 minutes later, you're watching a stranger build a tiny house in the middle of a forest. And you don't even remember why you unlocked your phone. Sound familiar? That's not because you're lazy. It's because your brain is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Meanwhile, many 90s kids experienced entertainment very differently. You waited all week for your favorite TV show. You rented a movie and watched it from beginning to end. You listened to the same cassette or CD until you knew every lyric. You couldn't skip to something better every 5 seconds. Without realizing it, you were practicing patience. Today's world rewards speed. Yesterday's world often rewarded waiting. Neither approach is automatically better, but they build very different habits. And habits slowly become the way we thin. Here's where things get really interesting. Most people think this means 90s kids had better brains. Not so fast. Because while one generation was learning patience, the other was learning something completely different. Something that previous generations never had to master. The ability to process enormous amounts of information, almost instantly. In many ways, Gen Z became faster thinkers. More adaptable. More digitally fluent. But every strength comes with a price. And that price is hidden in one simple question. If your attention is constantly pulled in 100 different directions, how do you ever discover who you really are?